For those folks who are watching who are not in Bitcoin or are thinking about buying Bitcoin at these prices, are you saying that this is a fair and good price to get in, or are you saying wait because you think it's going farther?
The same analyst who begged you to buy Bitcoin in 2019 when Bitcoin's price was just $500,000 per coin.
You actually think it's undervalued by that extent?
We think the best approach for most people is just to put 1% or 2%.
Are you saying that? I get that if you're somebody who's got a lot of assets. I still think it's crazy, but for a retail investor, somebody who's saving for retirement and putting that aside, that seems crazy to me.
Well, it's basically the idea that you can afford to lose 1% if that's 1% of your portfolio.
That's crazy. You might as well throw it away on high fees to an investor, to an average. Like this, you're taking a flyer on that. You don't know where it's going to go or what's going to happen.
Well, in a way, that's right, Becky. That for the majority of people, it's 1% is like a small risk bet. But Bitcoin makes all of its gains in 10 days in a year. You gotta essentially hold it or hodl it, as they say, to really capture the gains.
The same analyst who told you that Bitcoin's going to hit 100K before 2024 ends.
I think because now, post-halving and now Bitcoin's becoming a lot more relevant, and I think maybe the regulatory overhang is diminishing, that there's a lot of upside from here, yes. I think 6 figures is still possible before the end of the year, yeah.
This same analyst, FundStrat's Tom Lee, says prepare for one final Bitcoin dip.
In the near term, again, our technician thinks 70,000 is where we can sort of make a stand.
In fact, it could be a big Bitcoin dip.
So 70's one level. It could go to as low as the 50s.
And you should be buying this dip because the market is just about to enter a turning point.
As you know, we've been correcting now for almost a month, right? 23 trading days. And this Wednesday is an important day because it is a possible turning point for markets.
Did you hear that? Tom Lee thinks all markets are about to turn around in a big way.
I would like to see CPI come in below, 0.25 or so, and I think that would give that jolt of confidence for markets.
With Bitcoin, a market bottom is incoming.
You think we might be making a bottom this week?
Smash the like button, send this video to one friend who you think needs to buy the Bitcoin dip. Today's video is brought to you by SilentSwap. This is my go-to platform to send, swap, and bridge my crypto in private with ease at the lowest cost, 100% non-custodial and safe. With SilentSwap, there is no traceable connection between wallets. I'll link my full tutorial video in the description. Use my affiliate link for 10% off all platform fees. Here is Tom Lee's updated 2025 stock market and Bitcoin outlook in full. Comment your thoughts on this clip. Are you surprised he says Bitcoin's price could dip this low? Are you surprised he says Bitcoin's price could go this high?
Tom Lee, FundStrat Capital CIO, head of research. I do remember you sort of being positive overall about the market and for this year, but with some trepidation near term. And most of your calls recently have been less on the strength of the economy and more on inflation data. And some of your, like when you were calling things, S&P's going to end the week, 8% higher because of inflation or something. So we got inflation this week. There are concerns. I think I tie a lot of the weakness in the market to that. Are these important numbers?
It's important because, as you know, we've been correcting now for almost a month, right? 23 trading days. And this Wednesday is an important day because it is a possible turning point for markets. And I would like to see CPI come in below, 0.25 or so. And I think that would give that jolt of confidence for markets on top of, I think, earnings, which is going to be a positive catalyst. But for investors in the near term, I think they got to ride out the volatility because I think yields here have made people nervous. Not necessarily deteriorate the long-term outlook, but near term.
You sound really like you're not sure about the inflation data this week.
I'll have a better sense over the next couple of days as we sort of finalize what our expectations are. But the only hesitation we have is that the hurricanes last year have muddled some of the inflation quality because, for instance, hotel reservations would go up because of these natural disasters, and it's going to happen now with the LA fires, and I think it's going to muddle used car prices as well because you have to replace all these used cars.
So you think if they weren't muddled, that inflation isn't that big of a concern? And when you say a turning point in the markets, if we've been down for a month, turning point doesn't mean further weakness. You think we might be making a bottom this week?
Yes, our technician Mark Newton thinks 5,700 might be the turning point. It could happen Wednesday, so maybe 2% down from here, but that's really where the market could make a stand. I think if we could lift the cloud of some of this muddling, in fact, Waller last week even said most of the inflation last year was about imputed prices, meaning the real price of inflation was actually much lower. I think that is still the case. Inflation is weaker when you look at housing, et cetera. So once we can get through that noise. But investors, I think, shouldn't be too glum. I think earnings season is going to be something that really solidifies. Look, if S&P earnings growth is 10%, X energy and revenue growth 5%, that's a really good reason to be owning equities.
Is the Fed less significant right now with their rate cut? I don't care whether they, that's not what I base what the market's going to do on. Are people still just dying for another couple of cuts, or I think we're lucky to have gotten what we've already gotten. We got to live with that and just try and hope inflation doesn't come back.
I agree with you. I think the best case this year would be the Fed doing one cut because the economy is strong enough and they're still dovish, meaning they're going to make their way to neutral. But if they push those rate cuts into 2026, 2027, that's a longer run rate to support markets. Part of, I think, the hesitation for stocks right now is we have a new administration starting.
What? Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Tom, what does the movement in Bitcoin say to you? So we're at 91,000. What is that? What is that a signal or a sign of anything in this sort of analysis?
Stupid Fed.
Yeah.
It's not cutting.
Yeah, Bitcoin's down roughly 15% from its highs, which for a hypervolatile asset is a pretty normal correction. And it is slightly following global liquidity, but we're pretty early in this halving cycle. So to me, I think Bitcoin in the near term, again, our technician thinks 70,000 is where we can sort of make a stand. Means you're getting a big opportunity because I think Bitcoin's going to be one of the best performing assets.
So hold on, but you still think it goes all the way down to 70,000, or you think that's the floor, in which case you would still buy at this price?
Yeah, so there's Fibonacci's. So one level would be 70.
Let's say that again.
There's retracement levels. So you pull back from where you rallied.
Right.
So 70 is one level. It could go to as low as the 50s. But that's, again, not a new level. It's just where it touches before it begins to rally.
Okay, let me ask you a different question. For those folks who are watching who are not in Bitcoin or are thinking about buying Bitcoin at these prices, are you saying that this is a fair and good price to get in, or are you saying wait because you think it's going farther down?
You know, Bitcoin is something you need to be long-term focused. I don't think anyone's going to lose money buying here at 90. If they're trying to time this, maybe they'll get lucky and it goes to 70. But to me, Bitcoin could be significantly higher this year, maybe 200, 250. So I think 90 is still a good entry point.
So, do I think Tom Lee is right? Listen, I've been following Tom Lee for a while now. I get value from following this guy. In fact, I think the perspective that he provides about crypto and markets is second to none. That being said, nobody's right 100% of the time. It's good to update your opinion as markets change. I do think Tom Lee is correct often directionally, and I do think Tom Lee is more right than he is wrong about Bitcoin and crypto in 2025. I'm a buyer of Bitcoin at 90K. I'd be a buyer of Bitcoin at 70K or 50K. I do think Bitcoin gets well above $150,000 this year. So I'm buying quality altcoins too. I'll actually be releasing a new top altcoin video very soon, chocked full of perspective. So make sure you're subscribed with the notifications on. You can be the first to see our videos and comment on our videos. See you tomorrow, my friends. It's going to be a great year.